Hello, welcome Lugal's World. Please hit the ring the notification button, subscribe, like, become a member of Lugal's World. We appreciate all of this support so we can continue to offer these free courses to you. Today we're going to be covering the nakshatra of Alex. Say it again.
Shatabhisha.
Shatabhisha, which is also known as Fomalhaut. So this star. So we're joined here with Isaac from Down the Wombat Hole. Please check out his blog. And Alex, who's one of the readers that will do your reading in as becoming a Lugal's World Patreon member. So shall we begin?
Sure. Yes.
Yeah, well, Alex, because you can actually pronounce it better than we can. Do you want to give us a bit of an introduction, then we can bounce off each other?
Sure. So Shatabhisha is associated with the star of 1,000 healers, and this nakshatra is associated with the any sort of person, any sort of healing profession. That's because it's associated with trying to heal all the ills and diseases of the world, and how these diseases have been caused by the plight of humans. So this is a nakshatra that can be very that's a good word to describe it. Like very miserly or cynical. The reason why they can be so miserly and cynical is because...
And Alex, just make sure that you're speaking into the microphone.
Okay. The reason why they can be so miserly and critical is because of how they're so colored by the world and how it's been influenced in all these different kinds of ways. They have a lot of Shatabhishas tend to have a very strong focus on their morality and how they see things, and they can be very rigid or fixed on their sense of right and wrong, and that's partially due to it being in sidereal Aquarius. Aquarius is a fixed sign, so Aquarius is maybe very open-minded to a lot of different perspectives, like Shatabhisha is, but they're very fixated on their perspective or how they see things, if that makes sense. If you don't mind, Isaac, do you want to go more into Fomalhaut and its connection to Shatabhisha?
Yeah, for sure. So there's that sort of definitely that Aquarian vibe to this lunar mansion for sure, in terms of, it's sort of can seem a bit grim, a bit sort of countercultural, or sort of on the sidelines, not quite fitting in. But if we look at this link, so it's formed around the stars of the water bearer, which also, and then Fomalhaut, the sort of fourth royal star, would fit inside this as well. So we also get this more really interesting sort of creative, particularly like visually creative output or theme with Shatabhisha as well, which is really interesting. So that's sort of the link to Fomalhaut, because there's a lot of, it's one of the most creative and artistic fixed stars, is one of the sort of ancient interpretations. So we get this sort of mix between this quite sort of fixed, grim, almost Aquarius vibe, but also a lot of creative impulse. But the creativity comes from this sort of Aquarian contrast, or this search for contrast, and this search to sort of present something which is alternative to the mainstream. And so you see all these Renaissance artists, people who sort of led this sort of almost this scientific revolution, but within art. A lot of those were Shatabhisha natives, because they're able to sort of provide this sharp creative contrast, which has sort of had this sort of dark grittiness and fixedness about it, because it was very scientific. So still very sort of Aquarian, like air, like fixed air, for sure. But that sort of fixatedness allows this sort of new sense of creative direction, this sort of strong creative impulse in a progressive direction, which again is very Aquarius, isn't it? Always progressive, always trying to sort of move things forward, but in a quite Saturnian way, I guess. Yeah.
I would say in terms of a Saturnian way, I would describe it as more disorderly, because Shatabhisha want to stir shit up. They want to be able to project what they think is right onto other people, so they can rile people up, so they'll make the changes that they think should be made. And
can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
This reminds me of the kind of is this like the energy of like science that wants to heal you, like an authoritative science daddy voice that wants to heal you? I mean this in a metaphorical way.
Yeah,
No,
yes. Yeah, I would agree with that. That's because Shatabhisha is like modern science, in the sense it's like, this is how things are actually, and it's not actually true, it's just based on perspective. That's how Rahu works. Rahu wants to force you to believe what it believes, whether it's right or wrong. Rahu just wants people to believe their perception, or to see their perception or vision. And Shatabhishas can be very forceful about it, but they're not a very directly forceful, it's not a directly forceful nakshatra. They're very conniving, and they can be very manipulative, and they could try to manipulate you into seeing what they want you to see. And sometimes it's very intentional. Sometimes it's just them being deluded.
Yes, yeah. So you're right. So this is it's a Rahu ruled mansion. So there's that sort of, with Rahu, there's always that sort of that darkness and that intensity, and that getting, I guess Rahu wants to sort of really become like sort of almost lose itself in the materiality of the world sometimes, because it has that sort of that drive and that amplification of purpose, or almost, and wanting to experience things.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
This is also fascinating. So in regard to the epoch we're in, since we're coming into Aquarius, or some people believe, is there like big spans of time where it's in this Shatabhisha? And when would that happen, if that is the case?
Are you talking with the Yugos?
Isaac?
So, well, I know. I think Saturn is in Shatabhisha right now.
No, it's Purva Bhadrapada.
Oh, it's just moved out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but we sort of talked about that a bit last time. I think that the sort of so with like Jupiter and Saturn in particular, because they will spend, at least a good few months, if not longer, in each lunar mansion. You might be able to pick up some interesting themes in terms of those those planetary movements.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But yeah, I think there's definitely I just sort of pick up on what Alex said before. There's definitely a malefic quality to this lunar mansion, and I know that I've seen a few people say that actually there can be some lunar mansions where the malefic planets actually perform better in, where it can be good to have like Mars or Saturn here, and this is probably one of those, because you can actually lean into that that almost antagonistic Aquarian nature, I guess. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of, to sort of bring things back to what people can take out of this if you have one of these placements. This sort of need to be provocative and almost be the bad guy, and to sort of be fixated in what we believe to be true, even if it goes against what society believes. It is it can be highly creative and highly sort of progressive, like utilizing art or utilizing technology to move society forward in a quite progressive direction. That seems to be, that seems to be the spirit which really led the Renaissance forward. So with people like, I mean, obviously the most obvious ones like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, who both had moons here. So yeah, you can sort of see how that clashing with what we believe and what consensus society believes can be quite a powerful force, and also quite like sexually potent even. Yeah, like one theme of Shatabhisha is also that they like to this sort of search for like contrast, or for new experiences. Can lots of human contact as well is one way to put that. So yeah, there's a lot of different. If you sort of start to look below the surface, there's a lot of really interesting things that if you have planets here that you can sort of take out of it.
It reminds me, I don't know if this is accurate, but I saw the show Brave New World on Peacock, and they're very, they're very arrogant about their viewpoint in the kind of this AI biological technological city, and they like talk about the savages, the people not living like them, and they're very artistic. They're always creating these like dances, the giant orgies, and they dress in these beautiful costumes, and it reminds me of that energy because everything is all about science, and they figured out everything, and they know exactly, you take the soma and they design the embryo. Am I misunderstanding the energy? Would that apply here, or what do you guys think?
Completely.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah,
I
nice.
really recommend that show, Brave New World on Peacock.
Okay.
I will
you mentioned that.
Sorry.
No, go, Alex.
I would say that they can be very pretentious, but they could be also very childlike too. There are other ways in which Shatabhisha can show itself, like people that are very childlike or very curious about the world and understanding how it works, but they grow up more serious and stern and cold and depressed. That could be Shatabhisha. That gradual growing up. Oh wow, the world's so nice, and then they grow up and they're like, the world is terrible.
Well, yeah, I mean, you sort of, once you get to this point in the zodiac, you've seen it all, haven't you? And yeah, so you've sort of been through the underworld. You've sort of been through the sort of the 9th house and the 10th house of enlightenment, and then doing the career and reputation thing, and then you're like, yeah, it's all a bit of a joke. And so they tell me that disillusionment, I guess there. So, Alex, do you want to speak about the deities, which is it Varuna?
Yes, it's the main deity.
Yeah.
Varuna is also characterized in the same way of seeing all or knowing all, and I think Varuna is associated with, or supposed to have, like 100 eyes that looks at the world in varying degrees, and Varuna calls out all the evils or wrongs done in the world, and Varuna purposely stirs things up to get that reaction out of people in order to prove what it sees. And that also could create a issue in terms of getting along with the gods for Varuna, because the gods, arguably throughout a lot of Hindu mythology, they had a lot of conflicts with Varuna due to how he would try to call things out, even if it's like such a minor thing. And Varuna creates a lot of enemies as a result from doing that.
Is there any correlations we can make between other gods and other traditions?
Like from other like pantheons, you mean?
Yes.
Okay. Not that I know of. Maybe Zeus closest? No, I don't think Zeus would be a good example.
Yeah, nothing that comes to mind. I guess that the best guide we have is Rahu. So the head of the dragon.
Uh,
But yeah, I'm trying to think.
So this reminds me. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but this reminds me a bit of like Ahriman, in that Ahriman is highly scientific, highly advanced, like the master of the material. Is there air of that or not?
there is, but like that's not where this is going. With Udar Falguni, it's more so of being firm and resolute with their decisions. With Shatabhisha, they want to introduce their own ever-changing, ever-evolving perspective that is chaotic and unstable and force it onto other people. Udar Falgunis will just say you're wrong and just leave it at that.
Yeah. I think I'm just trying. Yeah, that Colin, that comparison is really interesting because there's definitely a technological aspect to this. And I guess if you wanted to link it back to the Aquarius angle, then the modern ruler of Uranus would sort of bring in that vibe. But there is a very scientific the need to sort of move us forward with a scientific mindset, which may not necessarily be closely tied to sort of any sort of underlying morality or ethics, but just sort of because you believe that you're right. So yeah, I can definitely see that come in for sure in terms of how this mansion would sort of manifest in reality for sure.
Sounds like intuitive thinkers, possibly, or do you think it's more like a traditionalist kind of thinker? Was he more traditionalist or intuitive?
At all. They want to rebel against all norms and tradition.
Yeah.
So it is very intuitive thinking. I'm thinking of like maybe an INTJ, the stereotypes about INTJs being the mastermind, like plotting the science of the future, and yet don't care about morality, cuts the corner. Like in the show The OA, the scientist like kills and revives people to like push the edge of everything, and like is it ruthless or not?
They can be ruthless, but I would say it's more INXX. I would include feelers along with like thinkers, because it's supposed to be also like they're supposed to be sensitive in the sense that if they see like an animal being harmed, they think, oh, that's evil, that's cruel, this is everything wrong with the world, blah 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 blah. I empathize.
Oh, I get it. It reminds me of like shows depicting like aliens that are like more advanced than humanity. Like, oh, you people, you have all this suffering. So maybe there's a luciferic element here where there's less kind of suffering and more kind of compassionate energy, and like
Yes.
in there too. That you're saying.
Yeah, I would say like every INFP, INTJ, INTP, INTJ, like that's kind of almost the stereotype a little bit. Like just introverted intuitives. It could go either
Thank you.
way. But
Yeah.
you can continue.
I definitely get a sort of Promethean sort of vibe as well. For sure. Interesting that so Steve Jobs was a native as well. I saw one analysis which sort of it led heavily towards like polymaths. So yeah, there's definitely that vibe. Yeah, sorry, go on, Alex.
It's okay. So I don't want to stereotype it too much, but good comparison would be introverted intuitive. I would say that they're always focused on how or what the world is doing, and they like to hide a lot because they don't want their true motives being seen. That's an aspect of Shatabhisha I don't feel like it's talked about enough. Shatabhisha is just like
It's so fascinating. I love that.
Right. Shatabhisha is like the archaic sage or wizard that hides or constantly keeps trying to be hidden or secret. So there's an air of secrecy that surrounds all the activities of Shatabhisha, and they get very paranoid when people infiltrate that. That's why a lot of Shatabhishas
Wow.
can be associated with spies, intruders, invaders, etc.
Reminds me of that show called V.
What?
There's all these like aliens, and they looked, oh, we understand science, and we're so ethical, and we're so peaceful, but they're like so like, you know, really trying to hide a lot of stuff. And
I mean, you're not wrong. Shatabhisha could be like I'd say it's such a weird thing, but like the archetype you could also associate with aliens in the sense that they feel like very out of this world, and they don't feel like they relate to other humans because they see beyond the veil of other humans. So like that it's not there's no actual like correlation with aliens, but I feel like a lot of Sadabishas like alien concept stuff, like alien movies, alien TV shows, alien video games, like any sort that's anything that makes them feel like their feelings are validated in terms of why the earth is why there's things that are wrong or bad on earth, and something that can validate their superstitions or their thoughts or their feelings would be something that they would be interested in. They want to be hear their own perspectives, and they want to be validated as correct or right. That's how I describe it.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That's all I've got.
I can go into more if you want.
Oh yes,
Yeah, for
please
sure.
do.
Yeah, if you think I'm
Let's
more,
learn
yeah,
more.
definitely, please.
I'm wanting to learn as much as I can.
So Sadabisha's symbol is a circle with nothing in it, and that's associated with the veil that I was describing earlier with Sadabisha. So that circle is enclosing, so nothing can enter it, and it's impenetrable. And Sadabisha uses that circle so they can think and meditate and reflect on why things are the way they are. Sadabisha is a very sensitive or reflective uh, nakshatra, and it focuses on how to fix things, how to solve things. So they can be very intellectually oriented as a result. With Sadabisha, I would also say they are very particular about their space. They don't want people entering their space. That's why the circle with nothing in it would be the symbol for this nakshatra. So when people enter that space, that space is inherently tied to them, and that's something that they don't like people doing
Oh
because
my, very INFP.
yeah,
Yeah.
they 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 see it as a affront or an attack towards them. So Sadabisha could be very reactive, but that's partially due to Varuna and Varuna's mischievous ways, because Varuna is very mischievous in Hindu mythology. He really tries to twist things or make things seem a specific way when they're not. I could see why Varuna could also get the reputation of being a little bit of a trickster. Uh, but there is truth to Varuna's distortions, but his trickery or his goals and his trickery causes more ills, more so than good. And the line between good and evil starts to become distorted in Sadabisha.
What about all the wealth? I've heard there's a lot of wealth associated with this. Is there not?
I
There's not.
I don't think so. I've never heard of that.
I
Actually,
guess
wait.
I'm referring to Fomalhaut being a wealth star.
Yeah,
Oh,
former halt is, yeah. So I guess if you got a closer conjunction to former halt, then yeah, but it's not a signification I'm aware of with this match in general.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I would agree that Formahol is associated with wealth, like Regulus. is both stars pretty much almost oppose each other, and the lunar mansions also oppose each other, but it's not a mansion associated with wealth or anything like that. There could be an aspect to the mythology with Varuna that I don't know of that could be associated with money or wealth, but that's not something I know of.
Okay.
Do you want me to go into more depth with Shatabhisha? Because I can always go into more depth with the
Yeah, keep going.
Okay.
Please, yeah.
So with Shatabhisha, they want to heal the world, change the world, fix the world. They want to be the creators of a change or a movement. So a lot of them can be activists and like world leaders as a result. They can be very humanitarian or charitable, which is another quality of Aquarius. And I could see that Sadabisha wants to be able to be the ones to make that change, but it's only limited to their vision. Sadabishas can be considered visionaries, and they can be seen as the people that really do a lot to help others with their humanitarian activities, but I think their vision is only single-minded, and a lot of their visions can be impractical because Sadabisha is so focused on their
Is
contemplation.
this like Greta Thunberg or something energy?
Kind of, but Greta Thunberg is Purvashada Sun, Purvashada Moon. It's her. Her activism is like more sidereal Sagittarius. I get where you're coming from. She could be Sadabisha though. Sadabisha ascendant. I wouldn't be against that. But I'm pretty sure
She seems like a Rahu kind of energy where Rahu comes in and like, is right.
Yeah, I agree with
Doesn't
you.
she do Rahu like things?
I wouldn't be surprised because that would make her sun and moon in the 11th, and uh that's the house of dreams, hopes, the different changes that one wants to make in their friend groups or amongst others. So that could really make a lot of sense.
Mm.
It's also a house of wealth, but it's more so greed. Well, the 11th house is more so greed because the 11th house is associated with the amount of wealth you can attain from your job due to it being the second from the 10th. But I would focus more so on how they want to bring their vision to life and how their strong feelings towards specific things can bring that vision to life. Oh, but also a lot of Sadabishas are do things due to paranoia, like they're afraid or scared of something intruding their space, intruding their feelings, or something being misunderstood that may make them feel very doomed or at odds with the universe or the world. So a lot of
So you're
Sadabishas,
saying that it's strongly associated with the 11th house more than any other house?
you could argue that from a Jyotish perspective, but sign doesn't necessarily equals house both in Western or Jyotish astrology.
Hmm.
But I would say that like Sadabisha is associated with creating a counterculture, like Isaac said earlier, but in order to like change what's happening. But Sadabishas are not very good in terms of realistic long-term planning. Guess they're good at long-term planning, but their ideals are so unrealistic that they want everything to go their way. And
So what kind of element is this in nature? Like what elements is this?
the nakshatra element is ether. or the Pancham Buddha would be ether.
Fascinating. That makes sense with the circle with nothing in it. That means like a vacuum. That makes
Yeah,
a lot of sense.
An echo chamber.
Hmm.
Yeah, Shatabhisha could be very echo chambery.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel like Shatabhishas are just not naturally very realistic, and they want this and that and this and that, but they can't have this and that and this and that, and they have to realize that they have no control over things that are outside their code of control, and they should stick to what realistically needs to be done and get that done.
Hmm. Nice. Yep, I agree with all of that. I love how you can just rattle off. That was cool how you just rattled off what Greta Thunberg's chapters were.
Yeah, I have a lot of charts memorized or placements memorized from different people. I'm assuming she's probably Shatabhisha ascendant because that's what I was thinking for a while.
Yeah, I can see that. And yeah, I can see that would make sense. And as you said, that would line her up in the 11th house. As you said, wasn't it? Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
I think we did a good rundown of this nakshatra. I could go into like more of a spiel, but like I feel like we have a good amount of information now for the patrons. Do either of you two have anything else for this nakshatra?
No, I think you did a great job. Yep, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah, so everyone comment your thoughts on this nakshatra, please. Alex is a genius with astrology. We would really appreciate your support. What you can do if you really want to help Alex out is you become a member, which gives you a reading with him, and then you can get an additional reading. It's $1 per minute with him, and yeah, really support his astrology career. And of course, as always, subscribe, like, comment, click the notification button, and show us lots of love. Even if you want to buy me some sage and some candles to help me cleanse your dark energy. We love all of you. Everyone have a magical evening wherever you are. Please, get some sunshine, drink your water, right? Get a fluoride filter, like go and love your body, love your cells, love your shadows. Nourish the darkness and you will become whole, the Tao Te Ching says. Peace. Sagana Goa, everyone.